So I love in the book that you make a point of reminding people to pick up the phone. And I guess I want to ask you, why is that? And you make a quote of cold calling is just like Blockbuster. But I'd love you to expand on that, please, especially for our Netflix generation listeners who probably don't know what Blockbusters actually is.
That makes me sad, Laura, because I used to love Blockbusters. What a place. What a place.
What a place.
The reason I had to really make a point about why the phone and cold calling is important is because, unfortunately, position of social becoming a part of sales, there has been a lot of friction between sort of modern digital social sellers and traditional salespeople, and both are guilty in various areas for spiking this debate. But there's this big debate between cold calling versus social selling. Social sellers say, no, cold calling's dead, no one answers cold calls anymore, and cold callers say, oh, social selling is just a fad, or it's just a marketing tool, you can't sell with it. And you know, I've been dragged into this debate way more times than I'd ever like to have been. But the key for me has always been and always will be, social is just a new tool alongside all of the other important ones. There are a lot of people that aren't on social media. There are decision makers that aren't active on LinkedIn. So it doesn't matter how effective you are at social selling, if they're not on LinkedIn, you're not going to reach them. And for some of them, the best way you're ever going to, get through to them is pick up the phone and give them a call. So for me, I'm a passionate salesperson at my core. Social selling is kind of what my specialty is. But sales, at the end of the day, you need to be using the phone, email, social media, video, text, post, face-to-face, networking events. I mean, referrals. The list goes on. As a salesperson, you need to be. It's almost like a checkbox. You're checking, what have I tried? Every modern cadence is now built up of all of those sort of platforms. So, right, have I tried calling them? Great. Did I leave a voicemail? Yes. Have I tried connecting with them on LinkedIn? Good. Have I tried texting them, perhaps a bit further down? Have I maybe sent them a letter or a gift? The options goes on. And if anything, salespeople have more tools than they've ever had before to sell. Makes it more difficult because you've got more things to learn and master. But once you know and can use all those tools, you become a very effective salesperson. Going back to the whole Blockbuster thing, the reason I mentioned that, for anyone who doesn't know what Blockbuster is, it used to be this amazing place that you would go to that had videos and DVDs and computer games, and you'd walk in and you'd get to see them and you could rent them, and there was sweets and fizzy drinks. What a beautiful place it was. I'm really selling it now. You can see how much I miss. Used to have a Blockbuster card. Oh, it was a wonderful place. A Friday and Saturday night, that's where you would be. Unfortunately, Blockbuster died. So as a business, they failed to adapt. And cold calling was at a stage where it needed to adapt. There were a lot less people answering cold calls, laws in some countries, GDPR coming in, where it was a lot more difficult to get phone numbers and to be allowed to call someone. There are some areas where it is illegal to make cold calls for sales purposes. So, cold calling was in a dangerous place, and the risk it had, similar to Blockbuster, if it didn't adapt, it would die. Blockbuster could and should have survived. We should still have Blockbuster now. If anything, Blockbuster should be the Netflix of what Netflix is. I mean, they should have bought Netflix in reality and adapted to become present online. That's what they didn't do. They didn't think that people would want to stream all their films online. They always thought people would much prefer to come into their stores. What they soon found out was actually, people prefer to stream, control what they watch, how they watch, and when they watch it. And so the business in the stores dried up. Now, cold calling and the best sales teams out there have adapted. And what they've done is integrate cold calling with social, with technology, to make those calls warmer by connecting, building personal brands, putting content out, using tools to make sure that you're making the best calls that provide coaching, that provide cool listening. So cold calls have adapted, and the whole Blockbuster reference was to sort of say some businesses like Toys R Us struggle to make and adapt. And there are some salespeople out there that are refusing to, and some sales teams and some sales leaders that are refusing to bring in modern tools or things like social selling. They just throw data on their salespeople's desks, give them a phone, and that's it. That's your only way to sell. And if that's the only thing you do, then I think that's a doomed path in the long term. The best sales teams are the ones that are embracing new tools, new platforms, and they'll avoid being the Blockbuster.
It was a
R.I.P. Blockbuster.
magical place, though, wasn't it? A bit like Toys R Us. That was a magical place as well. But I think the convenience factor took over. But yeah, do you remember Blockbuster, or were you in Brazil?
We had Blockbuster in Brazil. Yes.
Oh wow!
It's
Okay.
a global conglomerate.
Okay.
I think one's still open, isn't it? I think there's one in the US somewhere. One Blockbuster is still operating.
There's so much goodness in here, and then just in the last year, you know, the amazing stuff that you've put out has me questioning, like, if you had to update your book or even write another one, what is not in here that you've been seeing that you would want to include? You know, I'm thinking just based on the stuff that I've read in the last few months.
Yeah, really, really good question. And I'll let you guys in on a secret that I haven't really spoken about a lot. I am very close to finishing book number 2. So what I will answer in this question is going to be included in my next book for exactly that reason. I mean, first of all, this book focuses heavily on LinkedIn messaging. And I wanted to do it because it's probably the biggest problem in sales right now is the terrible LinkedIn messages sent by salespeople. It's horrendous. So I thought the first book, let's tackle the big problem. But the next book, which I am very close to finishing, should be done by the end of this month, is going to be the ultimate guide, the ultimate sales guide for LinkedIn, the ultimate guide to social selling. The title's having its tweaks, but it's going to have everything from A to Z, from profile to personal brand, to searching, to connecting, to messaging, to content, to, you know, cadences and templates and stuff. Now, what I would change in this book, that is going to be in this book, but it's very relevant to messaging, is the big rise in audio and video messaging on LinkedIn. So video messaging is growing at a rapid rate. Audio messaging is also, you know, very popular, but, you know, not on the same trajectory as video messages. And again, lots of salespeople making mistakes on those already. So I've already finished the chapter on video and audio messaging in the new book, and it's got scripts and it's got key pointers, things that a lot of salespeople are missing out, things like lighting, backgrounds, uniform, confidence in what you're saying. Barking dogs, yes, all these little things. So yeah, that's what's changed a lot in the world of LinkedIn messaging, is the whole sort of rise in audio and video messages. What's great about them is I'd say 80 to 90% of messages received on LinkedIn are written, and very few are audio or video. So they're instantly cutting through. And I had a decision maker call me the other day, and they were like, Dan, I just got my first video message from a salesperson on LinkedIn. And they were so excited about it, because all of the messaging they get are usually, you know, not exactly great sales type written messages, but this video instantly stood out to them. And there were a few mistakes in the video, but just the fact it was a video had made a huge impression. And, you know, there was enough in it that they were interested in talking to that salesperson. So audio and video is definitely the next big wave in sales and certainly in social selling. And I'm going to make sure that's covered heavily in the next book, which should be out soon.
And Dan, I believe that we do have an opportunity to offer up some special prizes.
Yes. So as a thank you for everyone who's watched this episode, I hope you've learned a few bits through this video. I would love to give away 3 signed copies, paperback copies of this book. I will sign them. A couple of extra goodies I'll throw in as well. A nice little branded pen and a wristband and a laptop sticker I'll put in there as well. But 3 copies. So what we would all love you to do is, if you can click like on the post that you've seen this video come up on LinkedIn, and then I'd love you to go and check out the Breakfast in Bed YouTube channel and just click subscribe. I've already watched all of the other videos. They've done so much great content, and I know they've got tons of great guests coming up. So you're going to get tons of value from doing this anyway. Like the post, subscribe on YouTube. After, I think, maybe a day or 2, we'll choose 3 winners at random from those that have entered, and I will hand sign, customize, and send these out first class, so you guys get them as soon as possible.
Fantastic.
Oh,
We're so grateful.
That's amazing.